A disturbing incident occurred in Aribisala Street in Igando, Lagos, where a woman named Fatima allegedly cut off her neighbor's Mitsura's tongue during a fight over a bucket while doing laundry. The dispute began when Fatima accused Mitsura of using her bucket without permission, leading to an argument and physical altercation. Fatima, in her early 30s, allegedly strangled Mitsura and beat off her tongue in the process. The landlady, Mama Ibadan, had earlier intervened to settle the fight, but the situation escalated after she left. Mitsura, an 18-year-old orphan who recently moved into the building, was rushed to the hospital after being rejected by 3 private hospitals. She was eventually admitted to Igando General Hospital. Neighbors described Mitsura as a vulnerable individual who had lost her parents and was living with friends due to accommodation challenges. After the incident, Fatima attempted to flee but was restrained by residents and later handed over to the police for prosecution. However, the police public relations officer Benjamin Ondain claimed he was not aware of the incident. The incident highlights the need for conflict resolution and community support to prevent such violent disputes. There are various aspects to this story, down from the violence down to the hospitals that rejected her. This happens a lot during emergency cases. So you have hospitals around you, and you rush this individual into the closest hospital, and then they reject you. You go to the next one, they reject you. You go to the third one. 3 hospitals rejected her before she was rushed to the general hospital. And imagine what could have happened, or what had happened in different other cases, previous cases, where we've had things like this happen. Should we say this is a misnomer? These are private hospitals. Would we say they have the right to accept or reject a patient, and they're not mandated to take up any patient they probably cannot handle? I'd like to get your thoughts on this, George.
Well, first of all, before talking about the hospitals rejecting the patients, I want to talk about the act of violence. My postgraduate studies on peace, conflict, and security, and my curiosity has driven me to research on why people are in a situation where, what drives people into violence, and what drives people into conflict, what drives people into such kind of uncontrolled actions that it escalates to this particular unfortunate incident that someone bit off the tongue.
Imagine how that even happened.
That's
because the tongue is in the mouth. I mean, imagine what sort of violence could have caused.
She must have pulled the tongue out and bit it off. When you are angry, anger is poisonous. If you read the book, Why Act the Way You Do, that talks about temperament, we all have different temperaments. Your temperament is not a disorder. Your temperament can be your strength. It can also be your weakness.
If you can manage it.
It all depends on you. Some people are choleric. A little thing, they are offended. Even by just saying something carelessly to them, they will pick offense. And anger it's like fire. It can burn you. It can destroy your relationship. It can destroy you. You will not realize it at that point. It is when you have inflicted harm and pain. That's when you realize, oh, I just killed someone.
Like when she was about to run.
Yes. Then, the cobwebs have just cleared from her eyes that she have just bit off the tongue of someone. So my message to those that are listening, to everyone listening, please control your anger. Don't let your anger control you. Anger can burn you. Anger can destroy you. Anger can ruin your relationship. In conflict resolution, one of the ways of preventing conflicts is avoidance. You can walk away from the scene. Walking away does not mean you are weak or stupid.
That's what some people feel. When they walk away, it means they're weak, they're scared, they have fear.
That's because that's a misinformation. Walking away shows you're strong. You don't fight every battle. You don't need to show that you are strong enough by fighting everybody. It shows that you are insane. The reality is that we need to deal with anger issues to prevent more people losing their tongue, losing their life, losing their eyes, losing their ears, right? Now, in this particular case, the victim was rushed to hospitals, and most of the hospitals rejected her. Unfortunate, very unfortunate. We need to save lives. We can't be rejecting people. Well, they must have rejected her. Maybe they don't have the facility to treat her or the equipment to treat her. So I cannot conclude why they rejected this patient or this victim. What I can say is that we need to look at our society. Okay. There's too many angry people.
I want to look at it from this front. This is really sad. It is saddening to see that people live in toxic environment. I don't want to go through the whole hog of what my brother Judge have said about anger management and conflict resolution, because if you read the story, you could play around your mind and see the class of people or their own understanding and exposure of where this particular incident happened, the mentality of the people involved. So in as much as I don't want to rule out what he said, but in this right, you'll find out that these people are not of that sound mind. Even some of us that are lettered, some of us that have, even psychologists themselves, you could see a marriage counselor who is even filing for a divorce. You could even see a marriage counselor who beats the wife or batters the woman in that case, has disregard for the husband. But if you come to the office, they will coach you how to manage your own home. So these are the... And
it's working for people.
These are the
their clients are having results. So you can't even take that away from them.
God bless you. So these are the flips of life.
But let's go to the yes, hospital aspect now.
No, let me, because why I want to bring this is that where this particular orientation will be solely available is in the churches, in the mosques, it falls on the purview of the National Orientation Agency, which has branches in the states and local governments. Go to some local governments, they are just redundant. So hence people cannot acquire the formal education, this kind of education my brother is talking about, knowing your temperament, knowing where you belong in the society and all that. But we can still, this particular orientational agency can go through those who are in charge of a given crowd, who controls the people, whom the people can listen to, going to the community heads, the traditional rulers and all that, and pass on this message of anger, excessive anger, living in toxic environment, and accumulation of excessive anger. You see what I don't like? What I teach in my own right is don't live in tolerance. Try to understand people. You see, tolerance gets to a point that it snowballs. Because it is somebody who tolerates that we say, the other day you did me this, last week you did this, even last year, Seth, you did this. Is the person that is now piling it to get to a boiling point. I don't know if you understand what I'm saying, Ms. Jackson. So, but if you live with people around and you begin to understand their different behaviors and characteristics, you won't bother yourself. Begin to pile up an anger that will get to this boiling point that you beat somebody stung or out. But in the hospital rejection, George has said it all. That's what I had in mind, instead of overflogging it. Those hospitals don't have the equipment. It's not that they don't want to receive it. That's what I want to say in my mind.
Let's talk about that. Let's talk about that. Those hospitals, that's where I wanted us to point out, because it's important. We've had so many cases of people losing their lives because they were rushed to a nearby hospital and they were rejected. Sometimes they direct you to the teaching hospital, and before you get there, a lot would have happened, right?
Even in the teaching hospital, some of the specialists that handle them are not around. They're in their own private facilities.
Other times when they come in, they are not even attended to. We hear cases like that. But let's talk about these hospitals that are on, or some of these private hospitals that do not have the basic. They don't have the basic equipments that are even needed for emergency cases like this.
Let me just come in. I'm not cutting it short, but let me tell you that in Nigeria is a kind of stereotyped situation we find ourselves.
What do you mean?
Each locality, if you're establishing a business, you also think about where you're siting it. the location. A small business or what you want to do for your, just to get your 100 naira, 500 naira gain at the end of the day, and you're happy with it. You cite it within a given locality. So those hospitals, and given the scenario of where this thing happened, I'm just imagining in my mind, you could also envisage the type of hospitals will be around because of the peculiar needs of the people. Because this tongue issue, we don't hear it every time. So it has to be a case that will be treated in a tertiary institutional hospital. So you don't blame the hospitals for rejecting, but it also calls for concerted effort for the government to look into how to upgrade our hospitals, especially to equip them for all kinds of first aid emergency in all situations. The government has to give
our private hospitals?
No, I mean giving them lifeline, giving them subventions, making sure. Let me give you an example. I was listening to a program last 2 days. Someone that was speaking from the UK or US was saying that why those hospitals, they are functional, that individuals can build hospitals and equip them. They didn't build them because they want to run the hospital. You can even have this within the confines of your building. But what they do is that when those other hospitals are choked, or when there is an emergency that the facility I have in my apartment can really take care of, they now do a referral and send medical doctors there to have the environment to treat such people.
This would also call the attention of the government.
That's what I'm saying.
To the primary healthcare center.